Thank you, Zerarick, for sending me the link to this video, and sorry this took so long. Hey guys, it's GaleForce3192 here with another commentary. Zerarick gave me the idea to commentate on this video, and while good points were raised in this video, I can kinda see why Zerarick thought I might want to commentate on this. That, and he knew that I was a fan of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, so he might have been curious what a fan of the show had to say about the video. The video in question is a video from Jerry Pete's Glass of Water series titled The How, When, and Why Chromosome, where he discusses the apparent lack of male characters in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, among other topics. Like I said, he raises some good points, but there are other points that I just don't agree with, which is where this commentary comes in. I think that's enough of an introduction, let's get this started.
Oh, bite me, that title is clever.
That fruit was hanging so low that you had to bend down to grab that one. Hope you didn't throw out your back.
As someone who avidly follows Silverquill, one thing I've seen him lament several times is the fact that there aren't enough male characters on the show. In fact, a lot of people in the Brony community have been lamenting the fact that there aren't enough male characters in Friendship is Magic. I personally do not.
Nice to know that you don't feel that way, but to those who do, maybe the reason why is because this is a show for young girls? The Powerpuff Girls was a show for young girls that had a large following of boys in spite of that, and very little male characters that weren't villains. Yet nobody complained about the lack of male characters on that show. In Friendship is Magic, we have characters like Big Macintosh, who's a family member of the Apple family that we see quite a bit, Discord, T-Rex, and Sombra, who are three of the main villains of the show, and Spike, who, need I remind everyone, is one of the main freaking characters. Yet that's not enough for these people?
I get enough male characters in every other piece of media that I consume, so it's relatively refreshing that Friendship is Magic has a predominantly female cast. And the show staff themselves have gone on record as saying that the reason they don't feature male characters all that often is simply because the cast is big enough already. This is also why your favorite background pony isn't going to get the day in the limelight you wish they would. The series is about them, not everyone else. This is also why you tend to see more male characters crop up in either supporting roles, antagonist roles, or exist entirely as a joke. It seems that the writing team is aware of this complaint and tries to remedy it whenever they can.
Exactly. There are so many cool one-shot male characters like Cheese Sandwich and Cranky Doodle Donkey, yet people are still complaining that there aren't enough male characters on the show. They should be grateful that we have characters like them, T-Rex, Discord, Sombra, and such. If it's lack of exposure they're complaining about, again, Spike.
In fact, this is entirely why Shining Armor exists. Everything about him, from his storyline in A Canterlot Wedding, to his design, to his occupation, to his freaking name, is about making a silly little subversion of the damsel in distress trope. Now, we all kinda get that, right? Shining Harbor's habit of being put in a position where Twilight or Cadence has to save him is a direct subversion of the knight in Shining Armor saving the princess by flipping the roles around. Yeah, it's as dated a subversion as the trope itself, but it's kinda like Eowyn going, "I am no man." Yeah, it's cliche, but it's still kind of awesome.
Even I have to admit that it's a shame that we don't see Shining Armor get a chance to really kick ass. The best we've seen of him is serve as a diversion to distract Sombra and the Crystal Empire, and after that his magic is rendered null for the rest of the episode. But hey, it's already nuts keeping track of all these different characters, and we get cool male one-off characters and antagonists to make up for that.
Hell, I recognized that it was a dated joke while I was watching A Canterlot Wedding, and I still giggled at it. But either way, the inherent uselessness of Shining Armor and the Canterlot Guard, combined with the way Spike has seen very little development.
Spike seen very little development? Then what do you call All's Well That Ends Well, Secret of My Excess, Dragon Quest, and Spike at Your Service?
And Big Mac never really speaking has led some people to improperly assume that Friendship is Magic is practicing some form of sexist underrepresentation of men.
And to that I say, there are still plenty of cool male characters on the show. Yeah, it sucks that they made Big Macintosh speak less and less, but he still has a solid presence. Yeah, some of the coolest male characters are one-offs and antagonists, but they're still there.
Now, it's no surprise that when a work like Assassin's Creed fails to include female characters, it's met with almost universal condemnation, while a work that introduces a majority female cast is often met with a more reasoned, nuanced response. Or, to put it in the words of many a frustrated blogger, why is it okay to, underrepresent male characters, but not to underrepresent female characters? Now, more often than not, one would argue this point in the form of a gently considered academic deconstruction of the effect of gender roles on the influence of popular culture, but I try to keep these under 10 minutes, so I'm gonna have to cut to the chase.
Dude, Please don't tell me you take Anita Sarkeesian seriously. I don't care how academic she presents her videos. The moment she disabled comments and ratings is the moment I stop seeing it as an academic undertaking because she refuses to open the floor to discussion and debate. Because God forbid someone presents legitimate criticism of her videos.
There was a time, I don't know when, I didn't have much time for men. But this is now, and that was then. I'm learning. A girl alone, all on her own, must try to have a heart of stone.
This is why. You see, guys, in an ideal world, you'd have a point, because in an ideal world, not only would there be no sexist character tropes now, there would have been no sexist character tropes ever.
Here's where I need to apologize because I know little about Bayonetta and I don't even know what the other character was that he showed. But going from what little I do know about Bayonetta, that game and its sequel really aren't meant to be taken seriously. Also, I fail to see how those games are sexist to begin with, but again, I know little about those games.
And there certainly wouldn't have been thousands of years of patriarchal social systems that viewed women as either broodmares or signs of wealth that only just started breaking away about 70 years ago and influenced generations upon generations of writers and character designers, the poisonous legacy of which still persists to this very day. No, in an ideal sunshine and rainbows dancing world, none of that would have ever happened, and so making a mockery of your token male character would be exactly the same as doing so to your token female character.
Except the only male character made fun of like that in the show was Shining Armor, and there are plenty of other male characters who had their chance to shine, especially Spike, who again is a main character.
But we don't live in an ideal world, we live in a shitty world, where all that stuff happened and all the after effects still linger, and so one kid's cartoon having no prominent or capable male character...
Okay, fine, keep ignoring Spike even when he's right there! I'm sorry to keep repeating myself like this, but I can't emphasize enough that Spike is still a main character, just like the main six, and gets plenty of exposure and kick-ass moments in the show.
Is not on any plane equal to 4 entire mediums still struggling with developing proper female characters. Still others may object more rationally, arguing that because the show is enjoyed by both little girls and boys, it sends a bad message that the boys have no real role model in the series. And I'd say that they have a lot of role models in the series. Here's 6 of them. Are we about to assume that little boys can't be inspired and look up to female characters? Because I take exception to that.
I greatly appreciate the fact that you say that a boy can look at female characters as role models, as I agree with that statement. Just like a girl can look at a male character as a good role model.
So I try not to make it known my yearning. I try to show I have no need. I really do. I don't succeed.
The unfortunate truth about gender diversity in any medium is that if you do it properly, then nobody notices. The Mass Effect games have some of the best male and female characters ever made, and I don't recall any mass media praise about Commander Shepard.
Maybe that has something to do with the fact that the player can choose Shepard's gender, and at least from what I could tell of the Mass Effect franchise, male Shepard was intended to be the canon version of the character. Please correct me if I'm wrong since I never played any of the Mass Effect games and don't know much about the franchise. That aside, being able to pick the player character's gender is a similar reason as to why there wasn't much said about the fact that you can choose your character's gender in the Pokemon games starting with Pokemon Crystal. Then again, I don't know what game critics had to say about that at the time because the game came out when I was 9 years old and I didn't care about any of that. Though I remember that I and a female Pokefan friend of mine at the time loved the fact that, hey, we can play as girls now! The point is, it's hard to get much of a response nowadays if you can pick your player character's gender, since games have been doing it for at least 14 years now. Never mind the fact that even in games where you can't pick your player character's gender, we've had canon female characters in games for decades. Case in point, Samus Aran from the Metroid series. Were these female characters few and far between? Yes, but that doesn't mean that they didn't exist. The fact that they were around to begin with shows that the steps were being taken. Because we've had decades to get it right, that should say something about how nobody notices when it's done right. Maybe it's that we're getting to the point that there's no need to praise a good character because she's a good female character. It's not that we don't notice, it's that we're getting to the point where nobody really needs to point it out anymore because of the progress made in the past few decades.
The Last Airbender also has a very gender-diverse cast of very well-designed characters, and more people were focused on the fact that Katara was a strong, wise, motherly figure rather than her importance in the discussion of women in society. Gender diversity done well is not something you get praised for, and you shouldn't be praised for it. In 2014, a gender-diverse cast is not some grand progressive ideal. It's the default setting. It's the bare minimum standard. If you cannot create at least one well-designed character of each gender, your writing team is substandard. It's not like this is a difficult thing. This isn't some labyrinthine puzzle. There's only two, and the differences between a male and female character in overall design are entirely cosmetic. Designing a gender-diverse cast is like writing a gay character. It's the easiest thing in the world to do.
That I have to disagree with. Yes, the male and female thing does seem like the easiest part of it, but I wouldn't compare it to writing a gay character or say that writing a gay character is easy. It isn't easy to write a gay character, and even nowadays, too many TV shows and movies rely on stereotypes as cop-outs. Case in point, Glee. I've only seen the pilot episode of Glee, but the portrayal of Kurt in that episode alone made me absolutely hate the character and hate the show, because he was presented as a walking stereotype. TV shows and movies should not have to rely on the stereotypes. I don't care how much time they spent subverting it later on in the show. The fact that they used the stereotypes to begin with is a fucking cop-out. But because of the presence of that stereotype, there's still a challenge to writing gay characters that will be accepted by viewers, readers, or whatever your audience is. And it goes beyond gay characters. There's a convincing black character, and then there's the sassy black friend, just to name one other example. The challenge isn't about just writing a diverse cast. It's writing a diverse cast and making it believable, and not a set of walking stereotypes.
You can take any good character and gender swap them without losing anything about them as a character, and those who pretend that a diverse cast is either a massive undertaking, or a limitation of creative freedom, or a social justice warrior agenda, are just terrible writers trying to cover their ass.
It's not a massive undertaking, nor is it a limit, but it's still not as easy as you claim it is. In order to make the character of whatever minority believable, you have to do your research and cater to that minority. I don't want to give too much information, but I'm working on a novel right now, and part of the challenge of it is doing that research to make an effective cast of characters that includes various minorities and have it work. Like I said before, it's one thing to have a diverse cast, it's another to make it believable. And that's why this kind of writing is more challenging than one may believe at first. All that's left of this video is the outro, so I'm gonna end it here. Jerry did present some good points, but there were still points that I had to counter. And I'm still hoping that this guy doesn't actually take Anita Sarkeesian seriously. That concludes this commentary. This has been Gale Force 3192. Thank you all for watching, and have a nice day on the internet, everybody.